Okay, welcome back everyone, and welcome back to those that are watching online. I know that there are people still coming in. Let's get back, get focused in. The next session is on the power of marketing technologies and digital transformations. And I'm gonna be bringing to the stage Maria Elshami, the lead account partner at IBM Business Transformation Services. And then she's gonna introduce the other individual. But let me talk a little bit about Maria. And I'm gonna get personal here at the end. After I give you her little formal bio, then I'm gonna say something a little bit more personal. So formally, Maria Elshami is an IBM partner in the IBM Consulting Services team as part of the communications sector. Maria is focused on serving media and entertainment accounts in business transformation. She brings more than 30 years, so she started when she was 6. She brings more than 30 years of experience in core technology operations, product and transformation service delivery experience in the telecommunications industry, from industry positions, leading standards in a highly regulated industry. She was the delivery lead partner to executive levels at KPMG and EY, and even now at IBM. She has extensive expertise in the implementation of systems across ordering, billing, CRM, product operations, mediation, provisioning, supply chain, revenue assurance, and network. That's a lot. And her key area focuses on technology, business re-engineering, integration, and full deployment. Bigger than all of that, Maria is from La Vega, República Dominicana. She's from my hometown. We know some of the same people, and her purpose in life is to add value to people every day. So she gets up every morning wanting to be a blessing to someone else, and she's already been a tremendous blessing to me. So put your hands together. Come on, a warm welcome, fuerte aplauso para Maria Elshami.
Thank you, mi paisano. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank WWT for this generous hosting. I want to thank HITECH. I want to thank Viviana and Susana and Omar and all of my colleagues from IBM that are here with me today. And when we were thinking about how to best bring a topic that empower and inspire the Latino community of HITECH, I was like, what do we need? We need new skills, because we were so inspired by the people that have been here for the last 2 days, sharing all of those amazing leadership stories, Jorge, and everyone just now. I was like, wow, I don't have to add anymore. But what do we want to do? We want to bring new knowledge, new trends, equip you with data, and inspire you to take this path. So I am a business transformation client partner at IBM. I don't want to talk more about me, but I wanted to tell Rick that he inspired me the last 2 days. He's a man of God. He's an executive for WWT. He's a full powerhouse, and that's what we need, that energy, because it's not easy every day. So we are here today, accompanied by James Morera, which I would like to introduce James, and I also believe that we have 2 more executives joining us on virtually, Sandra Lopez from Microsoft and Jill Santos.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you for the opportunity. Hi, ladies.
Hello. Hello.
So I will do a quick intro of each one of them. And if you allow me, I'm going to read a little bit, because they're very distinguished professionals in this space. And as you know, the pandemic truly accelerated the digital transformation, not only because companies were forced to, but now we have a threat of a pandemic. Mm-hmm. And the threat of the pandemic is bringing us to a need of accelerated growth. And marketing and digitization are critical to the board agenda in order for those companies to remain competitive and achieve their growth goals. So I would like to introduce you to James Morera, to Jill Santos, and to Sandra. But I don't think I will do enough of justice to your experience. And I would like to have you introduce yourselves and then share with the audience your experience and why you're here today.
Shall we do ladies first?
Go ahead.
Sure.
It's up to you.
Okay, I'll go first then. Hello, everybody. James Morera. I am Salesforce Marketing Cloud leader for the Americas at IBM Consulting. I've been a marketer for, 25 years, and really have always been focused on digital in particular, digital first, but also across the general market, but also US Hispanic. I actually got my start in marketing working for AOL when AOL Latino was launched. So I had the opportunity to begin the first social network, that was the term, for specifically targeting Spanish-speaking US Hispanics, which I'm very proud of being able to do. And so today, I really work with a lot of our clients to understand how they can better how they reach their audiences. Again, not forgetting my roots, understanding the fact that the US Hispanic markets have also become very diversified. There's no one way to reach a Hispanic, just like there's no way to reach any one individual that lives in the United States or globally today. So I really enjoy working with our clients to figure out the best way to be able to work within their marketing departments, partnering with IT, getting them fully up to speed, and embracing the technology, because at the end of the day, just makes consumers fall in love with them even more.
Thank you, James. Jill?
Hi, everyone. Jill Santos. I'm the Regional Vice President of Marketing Cloud across the U.S. in our retail and consumer goods business, focusing specifically on small business. I've been at Salesforce for about 3 years now. But previous to that, my career spans back to about 10 years in small business solutions sales. So for today's conversation, I like to think I have a little bit of a different perspective because I speak to marketers every single day and understand what their challenges are, specifically in the small business space. On a personal front, I am originally from New York, currently based out of Atlanta, sitting in our Salesforce Tower here in Buckhead. But my father is a small business owner, a Puerto Rican small business owner, to be more specific. And I draw a lot of my personal inspiration of wanting to continue to work with small businesses and specifically activating the Hispanic and Latinx community because of, I think every day I'm talking to folks that are like my dad who don't necessarily know the importance of a digital transformation, the importance of operationally and technologically building out your business to maximize not only your profits, but also your end customer experiences. And so though I talk to tons of folks from tons of backgrounds, I'm always like picturing my dad in the background when I'm talking to folks because I really genuinely want to help small businesses be as big and as wonderful as they want to be. So I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you, Jill. Sandra?
Hello, everybody. Buenos días, buenas tardes. Es un honor estar con ustedes. It's such an honor to be with you. At Microsoft, we believe in inclusivity. So I'd like to start with, for those that may be visually impaired, I'm wearing a light blue leather jacket, wearing glasses for eyesight, brown hair, and I go by the pronouns she, her. And I'm a proud Mexican-American first generation. I'm here. I recently joined Microsoft Advertising. In the world of Microsoft, we are committed to making sure that all companies of all sizes, and Jill, I like your highlight of S and small business, to achieve more. And Maria, you brought up the notion around the digital transformation. I started my career in technology because I had this firm belief many years ago, I'm not going to speak myself, that it's not only sports, media, television, Hollywood, fashion that informs society. Technology is now informing society. If you think about the algorithms in which we are creating, we are injecting our values, and firm believer that we have to drive technology for good. And so as we think about serving the consumers of the United States, where there's a huge Hispanic population, is in how do we make sure that across all brands, customers, and agencies, we accurately reflect, as James highlighted, the Hispanic population, because it is very diverse. And even within one country, the language of vernacular is diverse. So glad to be here. Looking forward to having the conversation around digital transformation in that area of marketing.
Thank you, Sandra. And we have a very sexy topic today, the power of marketing, but we also, you can see what you can be in very, very few minutes. For me, it's great to have 3 females on this panel. And James know about my purpose. So this is really strong. And I, even though it's a sexy topic, I want to share a couple of data points to give you some hardcore trends that are going to support why we chose this topic. But over the next 12 to 18 months, marketers are expecting 60% of growth, regardless of the threat of the recession. 70% of marketeers confirmed that they have provided greater value than a year ago. And these are all business trends that will justify the technology and enable the investments that need to be made. And lastly, 80% of all chief marketing officers are saying that they must transform sales and marketing in order to remain competitive. And I can attest to that by some of my most recent client engagements and success stories in my own job. But I would like to, start with this audience, with the audience and us asking James, why is digital marketing critical today? And then pass it on to Jill and Sandra to get their thoughts.
Absolutely. I think digital marketing has been central to the way brands speak to consumers for, I would love to say, the better part of a decade. Up until the time, and of course everyone knew that the pandemic was going to come up as a trend and a topic, but it is crucial to how accelerated digital marketing has become and how central it has become to the way brands and companies speak to their audiences. For example, a lot of times, the commute is no longer a factor in many cases. So the routine of seeing the same billboard, the same bus stop, a lot of the offline marketing is showing a reduced return on investment, which has really put digital marketing at the center of marketing initiatives. And as a result, the acceleration of, well, how do we make it better? And a lot of times, folks have come to the realization, and obviously that's enabled the conversations that we've been able to have with them, that the fact that marketing automation, marketing technology, being able to further inform how digital marketing initiatives actually take shape, it's needed. So previously you'd have your email manager, you'd have your search and SCM manager, you'd have your social media manager. A lot of times these folks may have limited interaction. They might sit in a team meeting together and talk about what they're doing, but they don't work together. And a lot of the conversations that we've been having over the course of the last year and a half has been around, how do we optimize? How do we get things to work together? How do we further find efficiencies? Find a way to really connect with our customer. Things have been good enough. Now we really have to push the envelope. The great thing is that you've got CMOs understanding this need, and now they're engaging and having those conversations with CIOs, CTOs, because they realize that that partnership has to exist in order to be able to achieve that goal.
Thank you, James. Jill?
I agree with everything James said. In addition to that, though, I would also say that one of the stats that we often talk about when we're talking to marketers is that 84% of consumers expect for brands to be highly personalized and to essentially meet them where they are with content and recommendations for adding on products or new initiatives. In ways that actually speak to them, but comparatively, only 36% of companies right now are actually optimizing themselves on that level of personalizations that their consumers expect. And so, especially in the small business space, to James's point about how CMOs think or how there's an email person and an SEO person, in a small business space, one person could be doing all of those things. And understanding on the, at least technology side, it's those siloed systems that folks are using that are not speaking to each other. Again, in that small business setting, you can have two people doing essentially the same things, but if their systems are not working together, then that data, that rich customer data that helps them get more personalized kind of gets lost in the wind. And it leads to less efficiencies, operationalizing the way that we approach our customers and whatnot. And so for us, and the way we think about like the importance of really leaning into digital marketing, but not just digital marketing, that level of personalization, it's to ensure that you're maximizing your time as the marketer, especially on a small team, in order to meet your customers at the level of expectation that they have in this day and age.
Thank you, Jill. Sandra, what would you like to add?
I mean, you guys are all providing enormous insight, and I like for the fact in terms of Maria, how you highlighted growth. Oftentimes, especially during this economic downturn, marketing is viewed as a cost center, when in reality, we are a growth center. Yep. And if you think about COVID and what has transpired, us as individuals of employees of companies, as well as consumers, is that we have merged into one. And at Microsoft, we identified a new persona from a marketing perspective, whether you are going from B2C or B2B, which is, we are calling it the Workday consumer. If you take a look at your PC and look at all the tabs that you have, it's probably a blend of work tabs and personal tabs. And what we realized is that, 60% of respondents that we analyzed are actually doing personal searches, personal analysis, personal buys, whether it's groceries or that upcoming vacation to Europe that everybody's going to during the workday hours. And so if you think about that, then you have to take a step back and realize, if all this is happening digitally and during the work hours, how am I going to reach that audience in a very meaningful way? So I echo everything that everybody has said previously, and also really tuning into how post-COVID has created a new world order for the technology industry at large, and us as marketers. And the challenge and opportunity for us to kind of lean in and seize the opportunity to better serve our consumers.
Thanks, Sandra. And now that I have you, I would like to ask you, what do you think are the key technology challenges that are being faced in the marketing space?
For any one of us?
So for you, Sandra, to start.
So sorry, okay. Yeah, data. Data is the new oil. It provides insights. It is our responsibility to make sure that we leverage it appropriately. We always believe data is the human right, in which consumers have access to their data. They're the ones that go after the whole first-party cookie, three-party cookies are going away, thinking, and I know, James, you said this, we as a marketing organization, we become CTOs and CIOs. We have to think about building the customer data platform, and what does that look like? What are the privacy considerations that we want to embrace as our company based on our values? What are the regulations? And in a world in which we used to have so much data and analysis of our consumers, they are now anonymous as they come into our own web experience. They're unknown, and we have to move from the unknown to the known and finally profile them. So it's this art of art and science, and marketers becoming engineers and appreciating the zeros and ones and thinking about how do we become CTOs and CIOs in partnership with our sister organizations that actually have an expertise in that area. And that takes a lot of energy, time, planning, discussions with the C-level. I know, Maria, you mentioned earlier, the board of directors, your data strategy and your first-party data strategy is something that most likely may land as a board of director topic. So I would say data is both the challenge as well as the opportunity that's on the horizon for us.
And I want to really call the audience into this as there is a lot of opportunities career-wise because we are here to inspire you, we are here to empower you, we are here to show you the way of choosing certain career paths that are good, regardless of our Hispanic DNA, right? We are really good at stuff. We are taking chances into technology path. So not only is the marketing platforms, but yes, data, chief data officers, data insights experts, data analysts. So I really encourage you to take all of this in and explore what it means to you, okay? And this is how we think we need to get stronger as a community together. And I'm so glad you mentioned data. I would like to ask James or Jill, what are other challenges that you can provide some examples in this space?
I will always echo the sentiment that data is always the path to getting to where we want to be from a marketing standpoint. Looking at it from a different vein, I'm going to also say the fact that as time progresses, when you look at it from the perspective of a marketer, you find that marketing teams keep shrinking. And you very rarely see marketing departments expanding, at least to a great extent. But meanwhile, KPIs, growth targets, year over year are always expanding. How are you going to meet that? And I think that, to Sandra's point, it's really embracing the data, embracing the technology, because it's there to help you as a marketer. So understanding the fact that you've got these obstacles to overcome, but you also have the opportunity to enable the tools that are going to help get you there. So I think to your point, Maria, it's marketers are not always the first ones to adopt new technology either. I wasn't. Until I found out how helpful it was for me and how easy it made my job at the end of the day, providing it was set up in the right way, for me to actually meet those goals. So echoing both of your statements, but I think it's important to note the fact and the reality, the fact that marketing has a very tough job. And why we're here and why we all have jobs is to help marketers be successful in what they have to do and to reach their target customers.
Thank you. Jill, anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, I would say that even from this morning, I had a customer call with a prospective customer, and not necessarily just the technology itself, but also the creativity and the right approach, especially in the small business space. The ask of the customer was like, do you have recommendations on what kinds of email communications we should send out? Do you have recommendations on how we should splice our data in order for it to be as hyper-personalized and effective as possible? A couple of weeks ago, I heard a quote, and I'm from an ISV partner over here, who said, the job of analyzing data is not to be right, it is just to be less wrong. And so the more we embrace that idea that like you're never going to nail it straight on the head with the data, and from things like, you know, unknown person coming in like me, I'm terrible to market to. I'll admit it. And I tell my customers that I am so annoying. If I don't like an ad, I'll report it as offensive. That's rude, but I do it to kind of test and see how are marketers reacting to that. Are they still keeping me in that cadence and sending me ads and wasting dollars? And I bring those insights to my customers where I'm like, I am annoying. I get it. I don't open any emails, but I look at them and I want to see if one would catch my eye so that I can try and bring that information to a marketer. But I think at the same time, especially in a small team, if you're used to doing something a certain way, to James's point about maybe being a little change adverse. So leaning into that and just looking at the world in that creative lens of like, how do you like to be marketed to, and trying to replicate that through your journeys, through your customer campaigns, the re-engagement. But yeah, when we talk about it as well, I mean, we've all said that data is the most important piece of marketing today. And the data, if you will, crisis of how there's, to Sandra's point about regulation and things that we have to keep in mind there in terms of privacy, that crisis breeds innovation and it breeds new companies, new products coming to the market that as I learn about them, I'm like, well, that's cool. I'm glad someone thought of that. So there's just so much right now on the data front that companies are really focusing on, and marketers are starting to really lean into, that I think will, to the point made earlier, make them more of that growth center as opposed to a cost center.
Thanks, Jill. And I'm going to add one more thing that I think is critical to the success of marketing implementations. One is the design of those processes that are behind the technology, that you need the innovation to include both. It's a triangle, right, of innovation, processes, design, engaging the client, engaging the experience team, engaging the consumer, right? And truly combining all of those into the requirements that will go into these platforms that are evolving so fast in such a large ecosystem, which you can tell of all of us, these three organizations today, being here in front of you, because it became complex. So in order for it to work efficiently and fast, because there is no more time to launch a product in 6 months, it gets launched in hours and days. So to me, attacking that, we are using garages, we are using design thinking, we are bringing business experts to the table, married to the technologists in the room, and the data strategy all together. So us as professionals of technology need to be thinking about our skills, upskilling, getting up to date, learning what all of this is about. And that is my call to action for all of you to truly get behind what's going on, because this is going to be shifted to the front of what is going to be the highest value in our professional. But I want to get into the more of the Hispanic conversation of marketing, as I know that probably each of you have some interesting stories. Personalized communications is required in today's environment. And we've been talking for the last 2.5 days about self-identification and who you are and what you like and how you should be directed as a consumer. So how are the Hispanic marketers leveraging marketing technologies to reach the Hispanic audience? Would you like to start with that one, James?
Sure. General marketing departments are still trying to figure out marketing technology. Keep in mind the fact that when we say MarTech, it's a gargantuan effort to do a marketing transformation initiative within an organization. It touches so many departments, it touches so many leaders, and to get alignment at that level to then enact the change and then go through the change management to get everyone on the same page and ready to go with the New World Order, that's monumentous in and of itself. So now when we're talking about U.S. Hispanic audiences, when you look at a marketing organization, and this is still unfortunate, you have the U.S. Hispanic or the multicultural team that is 1 to 3 people sitting just to the side of where the general market, where that department sits. And a lot of times, they always get things 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later. The one silver lining on that is they get to learn from the general market's mistakes. They get to put those efficiencies in order, and they're quicker to action. But the one thing that I want to call out from a marketing technology standpoint is when you start to personalize, when you start to create those personas for U.S. Hispanic audiences, you've got just as many there as you do with the general market. I mean, not just from a nationality standpoint, from a geography standpoint, from a comfort level from a language perspective. Are they Spanish dominant? Are they completely bilingual? Are they English dominant, but really have that cultural affinity? You want to be able to talk to those folks in a way that's going to resound best to them. And so leveraging that technology, it can be as simple as, I live in Denver, Colorado. During the summer, don't send me an email with a beach picture, because that's not a thing. But understanding the fact that, what is going to be an image that's going to resound with with someone of Mexican descent in California when it's wintertime? Obviously not a snowy winter up in the mountains. Again, I'm oversimplifying just to point out the fact that those bare bones personalizations can pave the way to more complex communications that speak to them within their community, within their own heritage, that are really going to help them connect with the brand, with the company. I feel like we still have a long way to go to be able to get there, but the tools are there, and I think it just relies on us to be able to sort of bring that business case to our leadership and be able to say, this is important, and this is what we need to be doing in order to be able to speak to the U.S. Hispanic community the right way.
Thank you, James. Jill, would you like to add?
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking as James was speaking as well, like I am, strangely, my father is a Spanish teacher, but I am not fluent in Spanish. That's neither here nor there. But the point is that when I'm marketed to, I get a lot, for instance, TV commercials, I'll get emails, I'll get all of these in Spanish. And in my mind, it actually creates a little bit of discomfort for me where I'm like, yes, yet again, I am a failure Puerto Rican who doesn't speak Spanish. So like being really thoughtful. And if these brands were more personalized to me, I don't know if that would increase my likelihood to convert to their business. But at the end of the day, like those emotional reactions that marketing is kind of creating for consumers is something that is at the center of, I think, the effectiveness of marketing campaigns in general. Specifically, a business that I recently worked with one of my colleagues is called Ticketera. They are the Ticketmaster of Puerto Rico and Florida, started by this gentleman named Manny Morales. He has over 20 years of marketing experience, digital experience, and his whole platform was all about bringing out artists that are in the Hispanic market specifically, and giving them the time and space and platform to be popular, not necessarily just in the Hispanic community or just in Puerto Rico or just in Florida, but he's starting in those areas because that's where he is going to meet his market with the intention of expansion. Their team today is only 14 people, but they're using our technology to hyper personalize both their ticketing experience, but also their customer success experience. When they have issues, if a customer's tickets didn't show up on time, they're going to turn off the advertisements that they're going to send to that customer because they don't want to like rub them the wrong way and make it feel like they're trying to get more money out of them when they're having an issue. So again, to James's point, not to oversimplify, but those kinds of thoughts and that kind of like mission-driven mentality in marketing. We were talking about this actually a couple of days ago as a group that I had another customer who lives in the Orlando community. There's a very heavy like Peruvian community around his business, and he focused on marketing specifically to Peruvian folks who had immigrated and then also their parents. And their larger company came to them and they're like, you've done such an amazing job. Do you think that we could use that in all people of color communities, so Black folks and other Hispanic communities? And he's like, I mean, you can try, but I don't think it's going to have the same results. And I think that there is that disconnect sometimes across like the diversity plane, however you want to look at it. But just because it works in one community doesn't mean that it works in another. And the more that the Hispanic community can lead from the front in terms of innovation on marketing strategy, again, meeting your customers where they are, that's where you're going to see that bigger conversion, I think. So those are just a few examples I have, but pass on.
Thank you, Jill. And I'm going to move a little bit to the bigger picture in the interest of time. And Sandra, I'm going to get this directed to you, but email is no longer enough, like you mentioned, right? You need to look at the marketing function from an omni-channel, omni-platform perspective. So what are the best practices? What is the new evolution? And if you can talk a little bit of the components of the technology, Sandra, and then Jill and James.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's fascinating because we think that consumers work in a linear fashion, and we always see that wonderful funnel, and it doesn't work that way. Every single day, we are touched, influenced by things that surround us and or brands, and every touch point is a brand touch point. From the very basic fundamentals of if your company is doing earnings, the next generation is absolutely paying attention to how is that company responding to COVID? How is that company responding to hybrid work environments. You talk about technology. Are they adopting it? Are they not? What are their values? And there are times in which consumers are actively seeking and searching for things, whether they want to buy objects and or services. And that search strategy, it's not just predicated on search platforms, whether it's Bing, Google. They're going on to TikTok, they're going on to news sites. And so for us as marketers, really thinking about all the digital touch points and how you plan to tell your story. And I do believe as marketers, especially during this time, it's our responsibility to entertain and deliver value. I always look at the relationship that we have as brands to our customers is not transaction based. It's a relationship in which arguably treat it like a marriage, right? For those that you're looking for new customers, how do you go best deliver acquisition strategies? Is it through email? Maybe not. People are going back to events. I mean, people were held up for 2 years at home. Like, people want to go see people in person and interact. So both the digital and the real world, which is people call it the IRL in real life, is starting to blend. And the opportunity for us is to look at all the technologies that exist that will best serve your specific strategy. And I highly advise those marketers is go look at companies, Microsoft Advertising. We create technologies and tools to serve everyone. We believe in an inclusive environment. And so we created Marketing with Good, where we have ads. And Jill, you were talking about this earlier. You would self-identify as English. Well, we have the opportunity for people that may be serving an English ad to self-identify as a Spanish speaker, and or giving people various different imageries, because James, you were talking about it earlier, that, you know, the Hispanic community is not homogenous. We are so diverse in so many different ways. And so leveraging AI to best represent the image in the, you know, image catalog that exists for that particular audience. So James highlighted this earlier. If you look at a MarTech platform, you see all these technologies, Salesforce, IBM, Microsoft, the list goes on, and really figuring out, first and foremost, is what is your business strategy? What is your belief in terms of the relationship that you want to build with your end user, whether it's a business and consumer? And what tools are you going to use as your asset and arsenals to drive growth? So don't have a clear answer. Everybody's different. And there are a lot of companies that are here to help, such as IBM, Microsoft, and Salesforce.
Thank you. That's a great picture. What do you think, James? What is your perspective?
I'm completely aligned to what Sandra said. I think, you know, I think the mixture of IRL to digital is super important to call out as well, because even when you're talking about marketing automation, you're not only talking about digital platforms. You have opportunities within an overall customer journey to enable customer service touch points, to enable sales touch points. But then also the way you reach a consumer is going to be different to the way you're going to talk to a B2B customer. So for example, let's take healthcare life sciences. You know, if you're wanting to talk to healthcare providers, how are you going to do that? You're not going to be, you know, your shift in priorities, your shift in your channel strategy, it's going to change considerably in order to understand where are those healthcare professionals, drilling down. What are doctors doing? What are nurses doing? And when you think about it from a perspective of you want to reach them to talk about a new medication, a new medical device. You want to talk to them about new trends in medical technology. The topics are hugely varied, but understanding the fact that, like, oh, LinkedIn is going to play a huge role in how we do initial contacts out to these healthcare professionals. LinkedIn is not how I'm going to get females between 18 and 35 to come and buy a blouse at Lilly Pulitzer. So understanding that fact and understanding the fact that it's not one size fits all, but the fact that you can use marketing technology, you can use these strategies to be able to target the folks that you're looking to target. Again, it's just the way that you put it together in order to enable what you need to get done.
Thank you, James. And Jill, how is marketing in the bigger picture influencing the small business community in the Hispanic world, where we know what we heard yesterday about the statistics? So would you talk a little bit about that, the size, the importance, how it's helping the challenges?
Yeah, I think that, when we think about from the top down, like larger companies and how they've harnessed marketing solutions and technologies, even from my perspective of having worked alongside small businesses for so long, I even think like, wow, they must have so much money and so much so much support in order to deliver these really robust and like fancy looking campaigns and whatnot. But on the smaller business side, specifically in the Hispanic community, I think that as long as you have the right technology in place, it doesn't have one of the benefits. I'm not trying to pitch Salesforce right now, but one of the things we talk to our customers about is that we allow, and I know the same for Microsoft, IBM, like we allow small business to have access to the same enterprise level tools that a Nike would use. The only difference is that you are putting your own personal spin on it. And so I think in this space, these smaller companies that are coming up specifically in the Hispanic community are able to leverage the types of technologies that they get sold on and turn it around and bring it back to the community. I do think there are challenges, however, because to Sandra's point about the Hispanic community not being like homogenous, it is not a monolith. There are multiple ways to get there. That is the piece that you have to make sure you have the right teams in place or the right values in place in order to drive forward. But I think the idea of embracing technology in the Hispanic community allows folks to really get their message and their value out there. I think of two companies that I really personally love, Viva La Bonita, which is out of LA, and then Belladonna, also out of LA. They're Mexican-American companies that are run by women, and they really jumped on the social media train and platform. That's how I found out about them, and really still respecting their backgrounds, their Hispanic backgrounds, without, for lack of a better phrase, making it too general or too again, lack of a better phrase, whitewashing their culture, but still being approachable and making someone like me, who again doesn't speak Spanish, still feel like I can be supporting and celebrating my roots, and also celebrating and purchasing from a small business. And I think that they really do a fantastic job of creating their own voice while still being incredibly successful. And I know that they use great technology too. So.
Well, thank you. And I know we are up against lunch, and we have a lot of more things to share. So I'm going to try to get one last topic here around data and insights, which is exactly what Jill was talking about. And then ask you, what are some examples that you can share that are tangible to this audience? And James, and then Sandra, and then perhaps we could have Bob.
Well, I love that the question's coming up now, because I think this kind of comes back to the first topic of conversation, which is data. So when you're running marketing campaigns, the analytics that, for example, in email, you're worried about bounce rates and open rates and click-through rates, and that's all and good. But at the end of the day, it's important to find out what impact did that email have on the business. And a lot of times, there's a gap there. We don't have that information. Mm-hmm. So the important piece is to ensure that we have the right data points in place to not only be able to track, hey, how did the marketing go, but then what else did the customer do? Did they go back to the website, and did they purchase what was in the email, or did they enable that action, that call to action that existed there? Did they go in store and make a purchase? It's understanding what the value was of that piece of marketing that went out. I think overall that those analytics and those insights help improve future campaigns that you're sending out, further segment, further refine your content to, again, increase your percentage of success from a KPI perspective, but also give the organization visibility into how successful marketing and the contribution that marketing is making to the overall bottom line. because marketing generally is a top-line focused department, yet they do have that impact on the bottom line, and it's important to be able to call it out. So I think it's really data-centric, and being able to call out all those data points that fully look at the customer journey to show that value.
Excellent. So I would like to invite you all to kind of wrap up and leave the audience with a little bit of a message of this career success in this particular space that you will have, and what is the call to action for our community today?
That's a tall order. Okay.
James, if you don't mind, I would love to jump in
Jill,
here.
go for
You're
Jill,
like somebody.
I
do it,
knew
please.
that girl. I knew it.
I think for my parting thoughts for the group here would be that, like, yes, I am in sales. I've been in sales, like I said, for 10 years. I only started selling to and alongside marketers 10 months ago. And at first I was incredibly intimidated because I knew how to sell advertising. I'd never sold marketing solutions. And so my recommendation is, like, obviously do things that scare you. This also was a little nerve-wracking to me as well. I looked at, Sandra's background. I looked at James's background. I was like, oh boy, okay. But as I thought about it more and, like, think about the conversations I have every day and the way that I am a consumer, just like all of us are, it is a lot easier to wrap your head around than I think you may tell yourself. And so if you're interested in looking into either being a marketer or selling marketing solutions, making recommendations for marketing solutions, just look around you and, like, lean on your experience as a human who consumes in order to feel more confident about what you're speaking to. But marketing is very cool. I'll just say it. I think it's really cool.
It is sexy. It is
Very.
a sexy topic.
It is. It's sexy. You're right.
Thank you. Thank you,
It's
Jill.
also, and
I
I will
truly
add,
appreciate it.
I will add to that, it's sexy and it's also accountability. I'm a very big believer that marketing shapes society and culture. And we were talking about the Hispanic community. And if you were to ask me, how are companies, the Fortune 500, doing in serving this community, I would give ourselves an F. And I would challenge all of you to challenge us, challenge the brands, challenge the companies. What are we doing to best serve the community that drives our GDP? So I think there's so much opportunity. And as a marketer, you have the opportunity to influence values, culture, society. It's a little bit of psychology, sociology, anthropologist, data. So you can take any of one of your passions, and I'm 100% confident you can apply it to the worlds of marketing. So creativity will lead to innovation. So it's up to you kind of define how do you want to make that bridge into marketing should you want to.
Thanks, Sandra. It is actually a core to the DNA of the Hispanic community. It is one of the spaces where we can thrive, we are strong. It's natural to us. Rick was saying about it before, how we are raised. Emotional intelligence is taught in our homes every single day. So these are the type of careers that I want to encourage you to consider looking into.
Yeah.
And
And I'll actually just say that, yes, what we do involves some semblance of sales, but I will say I suck as a salesperson. I'll sit down with a CMO and talk about, all right, let's talk about your marketing issues. All right, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And really working out what the end goal is and try and help them get to that. If I try and start showing a PowerPoint presentation, you're saying, this is awesome, yeah, no, I'm not good at that. But what I'm saying by that is play to your strengths. There's so much opportunity within Marketing Cloud. Marketing Cloud, listen to me. I said I wasn't gonna
mention that.
I know, right? But there's so much opportunity within marketing and marketing automation that even folks within our teams, they have specializations. It's not, you don't have to be an expert in absolutely everything. Go with what you love. And if there's something within this career profile that's of interest to you, focus on it. You can do it. Everyone has the opportunity to do what they love, and we encourage that.
Thank you so much. So first, thank the three of you for taking the time from your very busy days to be here today. Thank you, High Tech. Thank you, WTT. Again, we were hoping to empower you, inspire you, and show you that you can be what you can see. So with that, I would like to open it to questions.
I just wanted to say I'm kind of in awe of marketing technology because others may have experienced this. There will be things that I'm thinking of, like suddenly something comes to mind and I'll think, it would be helpful if I, went and got this, that would solve that problem. And the technology is reading my mind, and all of a sudden I see, boom, something pops up. I mean, it's not like I spoke the words or did a Google search. It's literally reading my mind, and I suspect it's the artificial intelligence and all of those predictive analytics that are driving this. So it's already out there. I'm curious, what's next on the horizon? If marketing could already read my mind, where is it going next? If any of you have any insights into what that next level of innovation will be.
Sandra and Jill, I think that I probably speak for the three of us when I say marketing automation tries to balance the helpful without crossing the line into creepy.
I agree. But I was going to say, I can't believe we were having a panel in the marketing about marketing and technology without talking about metaverse or Web 3.0. So
Right?
That is next on the horizon. It will happen over time. I don't think it's in the next year or 2 years. Think about how computers have evolved. They were once mainframes, then we had big desktops, then laptops, and now our phones are mini computers. So if I were you and you're responsible for marketing in any capacity, I would keep an eye on 3.0, the metaverse, and oftentimes the experiences and how it's going to come into the consumer world starts in B2B. Government is a big usage of these emerging technologies, manufacturing. So that is next on the horizon. And I hope we collectively learn from social media and how that's affected mental health. And we take the responsibility for technology for good as we embark on Web 3.0.
Thank you. Any more questions? If not, go ahead, play big. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
The following